I'm just like waiting to drink my beer.
I did remember to grab it. Yes.
Good. Well, we can because we're live.
We're live now.
Yes. Yay.
Yay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome this evening to Love Sweet Era's Boozy Book Broads. It's with our lovely, lovely guest, Jayci Lee this evening. We're so happy to be back with you this August, nearing the end of summer. School starting, things are starting. We're getting ready to go. I want to remind everyone, please go to lovesweetera.com for your books, for Jayci Lee's amazing books, for all of your romance needs and fantastic merch, all kinds of things. We always, as always, we have a Boozy Book Broads discount on merchandise. This month, it is going to be the Moonlight Ridge Trilogy book boxes. That is 3 awesome Harlequin Desire authors, Karen Booth, Reese Ryan, and Joss Wood. They are working with Love Sweet Era for this awesome box that's signed books, custom book plates, and a candle or bookmark, candle and bookmark. And the candle, it smells like champagne and pine, which sounds awesome. And you can get 10% off if you use the Boozy Book Broads BBB AUG discount. So if you go, we'll have that in the chat. If you use the BBB August discount, you can get that, the Moonlight Ridge Trilogy book boxes. And this evening during our lovely chat, Danielle's going to be our room mom. So please engage, give us your questions, phenomenal questions for Jayci Lee. Let us know your answers to as we chat and get together this evening. At the end of the night, we will pick one person who's been involved this evening, who's on the chat, and they get a $10 gift certificate to Love Sweet Era. So we'll give that away. Yeah, I know. Super exciting. So we'll give that away at the end. This evening, the Boozy Book Broads, we are honoring the heroine of The Dating Dare, who is a brewer, and we're having beer this evening. There you go, the fantastic book, The Dating Dare. And we're having beer, and I went to go get my beer, and then there was no beer, so I'm having
Oh no.
We drank all the beer. Like, that's what you get for having a 2 other adult child living in the house, is that nobody's like, hey, guess what, the beer's gone.
They touch your beer. How dare they?
Yeah. What's everyone else drinking?
I wanted to share. I've been like, phew.
Yeah.
So I got this California microbrewery called Belching Beaver Brewery, and I am drinking a mango IPA.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It's tasty and it's like mild for an IPA.
That's a Belching Beaver. That is the best title. Melanie, what are you drinking?
So classy.
Yeah. Awesome.
New Glarus is a Wisconsin brewery. You can only buy New Glarus in Wisconsin. They don't allow it sold anywhere outside of the state. And it's a husband and wife team that started it in a real tiny little brewery. And it's really the wife that does most of the brewing. And it this huge estate that you can go to, and you can take the brewery tour, and it's a pretty cool place. And this one is the raspberry tart, which is delicious.
Ooh, awesome. And Danielle?
Now, I have to say, whenever my in-laws live in Rockford, Illinois, which is pretty far north in Illinois, and if we have the time, we will cross over into Wisconsin and get something from New Glarus, because otherwise you can't get it anywhere else. But I'm actually drinking Bell's Oberon, which is like their summer beer. Bell's is a brewery in Michigan, in Kalamazoo, and I'm like trying to grasp onto, I know summer is, and I know it's August, but I feel like there are like a few trees in Illinois that are turning already, like the very tops of them. It's wild. But so I'm like, nope, summer has to last. I have to have my summer beer. So
yay.
Yeah. I feel like, Jayci, this was like the perfect group for you to come on, because like
I am so excited.
Beer people. Like they
exactly. Were like I am so impressed. I'm like, oh, you girls know your beer. Yes.
I worked for a brew pub when I was in college, and we had to they gave us tests where we had to be tested on the hops and how much malt and how much, we had to know all the alcohol percentages. It was, yeah.
Yeah, this is your expert group here, Jayci. Like you just, I will, if you need research information.
So we're drinking already. I have a confession already to make.
Please.
When I go to like a new brewery, I'm with kids or time is limited. So I have to make my one beer that I get to have count. So I always look at the alcohol percentage and go for the ones with the high alcohol percentage. You know, more bang for the buck, everything.
I love
This one
that.
has 6.6. It's okay.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, I feel like I realized now that I jumped the gun, I got so excited about our beer conversation that we actually have not introduced ourselves. So, the Boozy Book Broads, I'm Angelina M. Lopez. I'm a contemporary romance writer. Everyone else will go in and we'll end with Jayci, but everyone else introduce yourselves real quick.
Okay, I'll go. I'm Danielle Jack. I'm transitioning to my pen name, which is Danielle Jackson, but I'm doing Danielle Jackson Dresser. I'm the editorial manager for freshfiction.com, and my contemporary romance comes out next summer. So, yay.
Melanie.
Melanie Johnson, also known as the Writing Blush, and I write romantic comedies, and my recent release was just out last month. It's August, yes.
Yes.
And yeah.
Awesome. And then Jayci, please introduce yourself.
Okay. I am Jayci Lee. I write contemporary romance for Harlequin Desire, as well as rom-coms for St. Martin's Press. So two different genres. Ooh,
Yeah.
my cover.
Hot. I'll do a little more so you can all see. It's so hot.
So hot.
I love that cover. I love the cover for like the whole Heirs of Hansel series.
Yes.
And so I write those. Those are more steamy and dramatic, and I love like the almost K-drama soap feel to it. And then I write the more lighthearted, fluffy rom-coms, and The Dating There is the second book in the series. The first book is A Sweet Mess. So yeah, and I debuted last year. So
that's been a time. It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. Yes. So
go ahead.
I'm a pretty brand new, spanking new author, but working hard to write a ton of books.
Yeah, and you are. Yeah, we'll talk about this evening because you already have a lot of books out in the world, considering like it's been like a year since you debuted. So it's amazing. We always like to start our evenings with our shots or our icebreaker questions, and they're for everybody. We'll all answer them. So Jayci, you'll start, and then we'll do Danielle, Melanie, and then me.
Okay.
So our first question is, so The Couple from the Dating Dare, that's a book we're going to kind of focus on this evening because it just came out, but we'll talk about all your books. The couple from the Dating Dare, they began their romance at a wedding. That's when the book opens. They're at a wedding. What is the most fun, interesting, inspiring, or weirdest wedding you've ever attended?
You know, I'm gonna have to just go with the most fun wedding I've attended. Yeah. I was a bridesmaid in at my best friend's wedding. Actually, this book is dedicated to her, Lulu.
Oh, awesome.
And I just remember that we had a lot of fun, and there was a lot of tequila shots going around. But yeah, it was super fun. We got to dress up together, get our hair done, makeup done. It was like a slumber party, but in like a fairy tale romance. It was near the Hudson River in New York, and there's beautiful foliage, but it was cloudy that day, but we just rolled with it, you know?
Yeah.
It was still beautiful. And it was the first wedding, I think, of our friends group. So it meant a lot to me.
It sounds like it set the bar pretty high too.
Oh, yeah. And oh my gosh. So her dad is so soft-spoken, and his nose is always buried in a book, right? That night, he just got down and he boogied away. I couldn't get over it. I was like, oh my gosh, he was just dancing.
Oh
And of course, I had to tell my dad about it. And he put quite a show on for my wedding. I think he had to like outdo Lulu's dad.
Excellent. Excellent. Danielle?
Yeah, I was trying to think. I feel like I've gone to pretty tame weddings. I mean, I guess like the weirdest wedding, I'm gonna call out my own wedding, is that we made everyone wear black and white. So because I had this like idea that it was gonna, and it did ultimately, it made our pictures look really cool.
Yeah.
Because like there was just this contrast with everyone's clothing. But I've gone to a couple of like swanky weddings where they like rent out an entire restaurant, like kind of like a cool, like high-end restaurant and stuff like that, but nothing too off the wall. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Melanie?
Oh, don't worry. I have plenty off the wall.
Just gonna balance. It's a balance.
Yeah.
When all your best friends are theater majors. So I would say the weirdest was one of my best friends from high school who we were all bridesmaids in each other's weddings. And so she decided she wanted to have kind of this Robin Hood-esque medieval wedding. So we all, our dresses had like these long medieval sleeves that draped down, and we had to have these lace-up sandals and flower crowns. And
oh my God.
And there is the pastor dressed up as Friar Tuck. And the groomsmen, they all wore white and sashes and swords. I can't remember if there was a horse or she wanted a horse. Like it was, and in order to, so they had this in her parents' like backyard. It was this gorgeous backyard. And they roasted an entire pig, like over a spit.
Oh man!
Oh my God!
And in order for anyone to eat, the table had to answer a Shakespeare question. And I was obviously sitting with the head table, so like
they wouldn't let you eat until
you couldn't get up to eat, like, until your table could answer a Shakespeare question. And so I was kind of like my husband and his group of, they were never going to get to eat. So they were kind of trying to cheat and get us to come over to help answer questions. It was a fun time, but it was, and she was 6 months pregnant at the wedding. The bachelorette party for that was something else.
Oh, the fair maiden.
Exactly. She was in at that point. She was like, yeah, no, I'm test driven and ready to go. One of the most fun weddings I ever went to was our friends Diane. They got married on Rehoboth Beach, so right on the Atlantic Ocean. And it was a small, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. It gets kind of blurry, but they got married first on Rehoboth Beach and on the ocean. And then we had drinks up on top of this hotel. Then they had this incredible like 12-piece soul and blues band playing, and then lots and lots of more drinks. And then we all decided at the end of lots of drinks that we should all do lots of tequila shots as we're like on like the dance floor with this incredible band. And then we decided a really good idea was to go from the dance floor to a bar in Rehoboth Beach where they had like, they would serve drinks in fish bowls, and like these girls would, and the last thing I remember is this girl holding this fishbowl up to my, like this blue Technicolor. And I woke up the next morning and I woke up smiling because it was just like it was like a job, like a 12-hour job of being like the awesome, like having an awesome time at this wedding. But I woke up the next morning, I had my stomach, and then I was like, how did we get here? Like gone. And it was just, and then, so it was super fun, but I regretted it, that for the next 12 hours were really awful. Like regretted it, but it was a very fun wedding. Way too many, like, this is a great decision. No, it's not. It's a horrible decision. But yeah, fun wedding. Okay. So totally different question. So the hero, one of the things the hero in the Dating Dare struggles with is the fact that he kind of feels he's an artist at heart, is an artist at his whole heart, and that has made his career like a supermodel photographer, like a fashion photographer. And so the question I had, kind of inspired by that, is when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like, what was your kind of goal or, your dream to be when you grew up as a kid? Jayci.
Migo, okay.
Yeah.
I think it started with me wanting to be a princess. And then I had dreams about being a photographer.
Oh, really? You had photography in there too?
Yeah. But I never owned a camera, just just disposable ones. But for some reason, photography was in there. And at one point, I wanted to be an international businesswoman, work with my dad. And then what I ended up becoming was a litigator. So I practiced law for 15 years.
Wow.
But in the middle of all those different changes, when I was 13, I read my first romance novel. And by the time I was 14, I was like, I'm going to write one of those. I had this dream of being a writer. And anyone asked me, I'm like, I want to be a writer. But I never did anything about it. It's like, what's your dream? I want to be a writer one day. Right. But I was studying business, or I was studying to become a lawyer. It's like, I think it's like the result of being like the daughter of a first generation immigrant family. And I had to be successful. I had to do something traditionally seen as something my parents would be proud of, someone successful. And yet every time anyone asked me, I would say I wanted to be a writer, but I never sat down and did anything about it till 2015, May. I got so tired of being an attorney. I have to take some time off, and I'm like, when am I ever going to have time, to do this again? So I sat down and wrote A Sweet Mess in 2 months, and I wrote Temporary Wife Temptation in 3 months. And then I worked to get those published. So 2018 is when I got the call, and I published those 2 books almost back to back.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Danielle, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I think a lot of, it's funny. I actually not too long ago was at my parents', and I was like looking through like the box of elementary school stuff my mom had saved. And I think a lot of the time I said I wanted to be a nurse because my mom was a nurse, who just retired actually not too long ago. So I don't know. I think she's watching. I don't think she's in the chat, but so congrats, Mom. That's great. Wow. But I also too was always, like, in the back of my mind, I think I was always like, I want to be a writer, and because I loved everything about books so much. So and similar to Jayci, now it's happening. So it's exciting. Yeah.
And just real quick, can you, Jayci, I don't know if you know can you just give the little blurb from or just the little what your book's about, Danielle? Because it's just so awesome. And I feel like we should just keep telling people this awesome book is coming and everyone should read it.
So my book coming summer 2022 is about a boudoir photographer whose best friend has her own lingerie line. And so she, of course, is going to be the photographer of this ad campaign. But for romance reasons, her best friend can't be the model anymore. So they make the photographer become the model. And then the rival photographer, who she's always going up against for jobs throughout the city of Chicago, he gets hired and has to photograph her in her underpants.
I just get blushed every single time. Like, I want it so bad. Like, I'm going to get an arc, right? Like, you're going to get early. I want it so bad. Okay. Sorry. I just have a little side note.
Like, Danielle, you had me at boudoir photographer.
Right? Yeah.
Boudoir photographer.
I'm like, oh my God, I have to be in lingerie while my rival is taking pictures. Like,
Oh my
I just
gosh.
blushed.
And he's super handsome too. So.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Well,
Okay, Melanie, what do you want to be when you grow up?
So I was that kid who would pretend to be the teacher. Like I would pretend in my bedroom that I had kids at desks and pretend to pass out papers and pretend to sit there and grade them. And so yes, I became a teacher.
And you wanted it and you did it.
Yeah, I really did. I enjoyed it. You know, and so I taught English and theater, and the theater part was really what I enjoyed the most. So directing plays and teaching theater, and kind of, you know, just it's just such being a high school theater teacher, you're so much more than just an educator at that point, because you become so enmeshed, you know, in their world as their director and coach and whatnot. So it's you know, it was great. And then, but when I had my own kids, it was one of those things where I had to kind of step back, and it was kind of a gradual thing. So I did do both for a while. So I kept all the theater stuff that was like in the afternoons. So I stayed home during the day with my girls. And then I would kind of like my husband and I would literally at times, there's like an overpass and like heading into Chicago, like a 94 overpass. And we would meet, like he was coming home from work and I'm heading into work, and we would meet at the overpass to switch the kid to make it work.
Oh, wow.
To make it work. So he would come home from the city and I would head into the city, you know, so to speak, to do that, to make it all work. And but then I started to write, and yeah, so then here I am.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna be wanted to be a writer, and became a writer, and I was a journalist.
You were a
I was a journalist for the same reason, Jayci, that I wasn't, because I was like, I have to write in a way that will make me money. Like I guarantee can make money. And I always wanted to be a fiction writer, but just like in 5th grade, I was like, that is not a reasonable way of living. Therefore I must do X. But yeah, very like always, I was going to be a writer. It was always the thing I wanted to do. So, and then lastly, there's some delicious, like a breakfast food scene in The Dating Dare. So I was just going to be like, hey, what's everybody's favorite breakfast food? Because there's like, made me hungry while I was reading it. So yeah, what's your favorite breakfast food, Jayci?
So I thought about this one, and for the longest time, my classic favorite breakfast dish is huevos rancheros.
Yeah.
But on a recent road trip to Oregon and Portland, I had shrimp and grits with this over medium eggs on top. And it was one of the best breakfasts I've ever had. It was so good. Oh, that's I just love runny eggs, like cooked perfectly. So the huevos rancheros has that with the different textures and layers and flavors, and then shrimp and grits in a different way, but there's a texture and layers and flavors, and I just love all that. All my books have food in it. I can't seem to help myself.
It is that sensuality, though, of romance that isn't just about, it's the senses, you
all
know.
The senses.
Romance is so good about having that. So yeah, there was definitely this like yumminess about your book.
That's good.
Danielle?
I really love just like fluffy, perfect, like buttermilk pancakes. Like, and I want them to be like so good that I'm not really a huge like maple syrup fan. So like they need to be like good without syrup. So I need like the perfect pancake.
Awesome. And before I forget, I realized I've ignored our chat entirely. Like, please let us know your favorite breakfast food. And Danielle, let us know if you have any good.
I will. Yeah. When we get through everybody, I'll go through some answers. Cause now, now I'm hungry for breakfast food.
I know, right? Breakfast for dinner is one of my favorite. Melanie, what's your favorite breakfast food? Melanie?
Yeah. So, omelets made any kind of way. I do. I love omelets. I was going to say recently, crepes. I've been making them at home. Like I would do for the girls, like a special occasion, crepes with Nutella and strawberries. That's a close second.
Those are so delicious. I moved to Houston a year ago and discovered the joy of breakfast tacos. Like they're just everywhere, and everyone does them amazing. And they're just like, so like, of course you have breakfast tacos. And it's so funny because when I meet people from that are living other places, they're like, oh my God, but they know Houston. They're like, I miss breakfast tacos. And I'm like, because it's a thing. Like they're amazing and you can get them everywhere and you just assume that they're going to be amazing. And I love them so much. Are there any good answers, Danielle?
Yeah. So Estefana, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Estefana 125 says scrambled eggs with shrimp and grits and potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh, Monica is having Monica's on like every time we're on. Yeah. And at most
Hi, Monica.
Monica says that they're having breakfast for dinner tonight, which I think is great. Yes. And her favorite is biscuits with sausage gravy.
Ooh, yeah.
Robert says it's a tie between pancakes and waffles. They're basic, but can be so good with small tweaks to put what you want in on them.
Like chicken and waffles.
Yeah, exactly. Janelle says pretty much anything with hash browns and bacon. And I feel like that's really just baseline. Everything is better.
Bacon.
Yeah. And then Susan says everything, but she usually gets eggs, sausage, or bacon and pancakes with blueberries at the original Pancake House. So
that's like my favorite pancake place.
Yeah.
Where mine's in the South Bay Area in California, and I saw one in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, we had them in Northern Virginia, and they were amazing.
This is creepy because I know Susan, and Susan goes to Love Sweet Arrow, so I don't think I'm telling on her too much, but it's in the Chicago area. So
I didn't know it was a national chain either. I thought it was.
Me neither.
Yeah,
it's like a local place, right? I take my kids, and it has the best pancakes. Like I've been, when we go to Hawaii or whatever, they're known for their breakfast. I'm like, no, the pancakes are better at the original Pancake House. Like mine comes in a close second, but Pancake House.
I like don't make good bready carb breakfast foods. I make good like eggs and things, but I'm like I like my whole family is like, don't let her make pancakes. I don't know why they're not good. So yeah, I like going over to Pancake House because theirs are like guaranteed delicious.
It's like, I'm so excited.
Okay, so we're going to get into the full bottle and talk focus a little bit more on the book. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Jayci, please put them in the chat. And yeah, anything you want to know about the book, about Jayci, please let us know. And we will answer those at the end of our chat here. And then also broads, like if you have any questions for Jayci, feel free to jump in. So the two main characters in the Dating Dare are Korean American. And we talked a little bit about what themes we wanted to talk about. And the fact that you write these diverse, romantic Korean American characters, that's something important to you. Can you talk a little bit about why that's something you focus on, why that's important to you? I forgot. Before we do that, tell people about the book. We give them little hints and dents, but yeah, first of all, just give everyone an overview of the book. Yeah.
Okay. So I have an elevator speech. Sorry, elevator pitch. So it's about two commitment phobes who play a slightly drunken game of truth or dare. And Seth, the hero, dares Tara to go out on 4 dates with him. But the important caveat is she can't fall in love with him. So she's being super competitive and slightly buzzed. She goes, you try not falling in love with me. You're on. So they have this 4-date dare. And both of them have commitment issues, like I said. And they're happy with this short-term arrangement. Seth is moving to Paris in a month for his dream photography job. And Tara is, completely happy without having to deal with serious relationships. But they find it really, really hard not to fall in love with each other, which makes the book fun, right?
Yeah. And there's really instant physical chemistry. Like they're instant.
Oh, yes.
From a meet across the room wedding, instantly, okay, you're hot. Let's accept that. I'm hot. You're hot. Let's accept that. It's true.
Yeah. The chemistries are instantly for sure. And it's sizzling hot. And, and they go from there. And So, I mean, the story progresses and it's really about them overcoming their past and their fears, and becoming the best versions of themselves on their own, really, without one another. And it's not just about who they're with, but who you are. So they have to become the best versions of themselves before they could have their forever. And I think that's a really important aspect of a lot of my books.
Yeah. And so, okay, so go back to the other question. So these are Korean American characters. What was important to you about writing these characters, and having them be representative of, characters that have not been traditionally represented in romance?
Obviously, I wanted to see people who look like me on the covers of the books and our stories told. And I wanted to be realistic.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be all about the struggle of immigrants and racism and woe is me type of discussion, but I wanted to show our humanity. We could laugh, we could mess up. Asians surprisingly are not perfect. We're supposed to be the model minority, right? No, we mess up and we do dumb things and we know how to laugh about it and fall in love and be sexy. So many stereotypes to break through, to show reality of who I am, who my friends are, and who we Asian Americans are as Americans. Really, I just wanted to normalize Asian Americans as part of the fabric of America. I wanted us to be seen as main characters, not the quirky sidekick. And my motivation came my strongest motivation is for my boys. I want them to grow up in a world that's better than it is now. For us, I want them to grow up thinking this is my country, have ownership over it, love it, improve it, dream. I just want it to be a drop in the bucket. I can't do a lot alone, but I could do something. So that's what motivates me to write these Korean American characters.
I think you did such a good job of merging Korean and American, and that the diversity of experience, that there's food and there's language and there's types of things, and they own a brewery and there's a brewery and all of these things that it in terms of normalizing, and and I can reflect on that in terms of what I'm writing too. It's like the fact that I'm writing Mexican American characters doesn't mean their life is fully informed by Mexican qualities. It's trying to show readers what that mixture is like of this, diversity and the ethnicity and the culture, but you're an American and and all of that too. And I think that's what had been lacking for a very long time. That writers are.
Yeah. So I wanted to show us as Americans with Korean culture.
Yeah.
That's part of who we are. But it's not like I wake up in the morning and think about how Korean I am or how Asian I'm looking today. It's not like I think about my motherland or whatever. I'm busy, serving out cereal and waffles and packing chicken nuggets and getting my kids to school. It's the same shared experience. That's what I want to get across.
And that it's the same shared experience. I think that is you could just
but everyone,
hold it.
All Americans, all Americans.
For sure. And that's for a long time. Unfortunately, what was lacking in romance was that understanding of the same shared experience, regardless of skin color, whatever. And I think that's what we're getting more towards in terms of representation in romance. But the same. I love that. I love that line. Next time it's going to be like a billboard up here. Same shared experience.
Same shared experience.
That's fantastic. So I mentioned it briefly, but the heroine Tara is a brewer. So how did you get to brewery as a central theme in your books? I mean, how did you get there in the first place?
So the idea for Tara started when I wrote A Sweet Mess. I started with Baker because, oh my gosh, I love desserts. And then her best friend is a brewer because, oh my gosh, I like beer. But I was still an attorney, right? These were just these thoughts in the back of my head that I didn't even know I was having. But my closest friend at my law firm, and we were like living like parallel lives, right? We have pretty like traditional households and families, and we have young children. We're trying to juggle this job that requires like two people really, being a mother and an attorney, but trying to survive it. And so I had this affinity with her, and her husband happened to be a brewer for a local brewery. And I was like so smitten with the idea. And I loved his profession. I'm like, that is so great. And she would get me like growlers full of his brews. And I'm like, he is so talented. I went to like a brew festival where he won like a bunch of gold medals. Like he was like wearing it around his neck with the kid on his shoulder. And I'm like, how cool would it be if I could explore that a little more and have that profession opened up to women and to Korean Americans. And people reading this, I'm sure I was 13 when I started reading romance. So there are kids reading this and they could say, oh, okay, I'm not limited to just being a doctor or a lawyer or accountant or engineer, right? I could become a brewmaster. It's like just reaching for the stars, just kind of branching out into different professions. And it was just a lot of fun research as well.
Yes. Tell us a little bit. Do you have a fun story from your research efforts?
No, but the weird thing is the South Bay area in California has grown into this huge microbrewery hub. People take bus tours to come here and go brewery hopping. And my husband and I started taking very rare but precious date nights, and we would go brewery hopping, and I would like peek in everywhere and try do all the flights and try things out. And the sad thing is I planned on doing a lot more research, but the pandemic hit, so I couldn't go and drink more. But that's not the point. I want to talk to the brewers, kind of. But the research continues. We went to, like I said, we went to Oregon, and Bend, Oregon is known for their brews as well. And I went to this one particular brewery called 10 Barrel Brewery, and their test flight is 10 4-ounce pours of all their beers. So that's 40 ounces of beer.
A lot. Yeah.
And ladies, I finished it to the last drop. Before the boys started whining, I got it done. Got the job done. All in the name of research.
Oh, that's all. You were like, no, it's part of the job. That got to put my body out there. It's fine.
Yep. And then I brought my little Walden Brewery magnet as inspiration, and I'm like, this is for Tara. I'm doing this for Tara.
Nice.
That is fantastic. Danielle, is there any question from the audience that we could ask?
Let me.
And there may not be yet.
There are a couple, but I want to see. I'm looking at your next question, make sure I'm not like jumping the gun. You know what I mean? Okay, so Estefana 125 says that she just started the dating dare and she's loving it so far, but she also wants to know more about your Harlequin Desire series a bit, just kind of the general setup of it.
That's great, because we're going to start talking a little bit about all the books and how you juggle that. So that's actually a great
time. Okay. I love talking about all my book babies.
Yeah.
The Heirs of Hansel, that starts with Temporary Wife Temptation. That's book 1. So if you want to get started on that, that's the book to go to. And it's about a family of fashion mogul, Korean Americans, I kind of got the inspiration from Forever 21, which is Korean American owned fashion mogul, right? And so I based it on that. And it's about this family. And there's this family matriarch, the grandmother, Grace Song. That's my mom's maiden name. That's her name because I love her and she inspires me. And so this amazing matriarch is the head of the family, and the heirs of the corporation, the Hansel Corporation, is what the three books evolve around. The first book is Garrett's Song, the heir apparent, the next CEO. And then it goes to his sister, and then their cousin, like the black sheep of the family. But the first book, it focuses on the fashion industry and human resources as well, because Natalie, the heroine, is a human resources director. That comes from my 15 years as an employment law attorney. Wow. So I put some of that in there. The second book is about Adelaide, who is a fashion designer, and she falls in love with her brother's best friend. And so there's that fun time going on. And the last book, Off Limits Attraction, Melanie. Off Limits Attraction is about Colin, and he wants to move out of the shadow of the fashion industry and become a movie producer. And I kind of discuss the lack of representation in Hollywood and how they're trying to create a rom-com about Korean American main characters. So like my real world, since The Sweet Mess was being considered to be produced by Daniel Day Kim, and all of that came in as research for me to write that third book, Off Limits Attraction. So there's Hollywood glitz and movie production and all of that in the third book. So I feel like it's really glamorous and very Los Angeles. And you get to see it from the perspective of Korean American main characters. It's just delicious, really.
That is incredible. So yeah, you had, when did you debut? Was it May of 2020?
February 2020.
February of 2020. And The Dating Dare came out beginning of August. So in February, March, April, May, June, like
a year and a half.
18 months, 5 books. Yes. 5 books in 18 months. Is that
5
correct?
books, yes. 5 books and 1 novella.
Yeah, that's how did you do that? That's amazing.
I think working hard has been ingrained in me.
Sure.
Working so hard that my brain is gonna burst is just kind of a norm. And I thought that's how I had to be as an author. So I transitioned from working too hard as a lawyer into working too hard as an author. But the difference is writing is my passion. I love it. So I poured myself into these books. And it's really discipline as well, that my love is transcribed into an actual book, after book after book.
Sure.
to be shared with you guys. And then, like I said, I have a really good motivation. Like I have my voice to think about. So I just worked hard to get these books to my readers.
So somebody like, do you have a tip or a suggestion for somebody who's like, how do you, so discipline, hard work, that kind of thing. Is there any kind of format you use for like, this is how I run a day so that I can get the most production out of it, or anything like that?
You guys, so I
and I don't
okay. So I signed my contract at the end of 2018 with Harlequin. I signed with St. Martin's Press in March or April. So back-to-back 3-book contracts.
Mm-hmm.
The 2019 is a blur. 2020, 4 books, 4 books and a novella came out, and the pandemic hit. And in the midst of that, I was writing The Dating Dare. Mm-hmm. My biggest recommendation is don't do it. Not in the way that I did. Because like I said, I thought, there's so much passion and motivation and I want to do this, but it's really hard. And no one could have predicted the pandemic, actually. So having to have my kids at home 24/7, my husband at home, all of us in an open concept house where my only space is the living room and everyone converges into it, the living room, dining room, kitchen, which is just all one big room. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Do not yell at your children. Mommy's busy. Do not do that. And give yourself some grace. And you are at your most creative when you are at your happiest. So take care of yourselves, give yourself grace. And I think gratitude and happiness makes the words come much faster than stress and resentment at the whole world being on fire. So it took a lot of, I guess, mindfulness, really. I know it's like a popular term, but really you have to be in the moment. You have to remind yourself and constantly find the center of why I'm doing this, who I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for my children. I'm doing it for my readers, because they were going through the same thing I was, and they needed the laughter and the escape that I craved. So I try to deliver that in the form of the Dating Dare. It's super silly. And I think I was talking to Melanie and I said it's apologetically corny. And it's
I think leaning into that right now is important. Yeah. I'm so impressed, the way you talk about writing your best when you're happy and healthy, and not when you're tired and resenting the entire world, because that's kind of my problem right now. It's hard. Being happy. So that's great advice.
Yeah, no, it's very well. And that kind of leads into my next question. Jayci and I spoke, I did an article on, I was saying pandemic babies, that these books that we produced during 2020, thinking that it was going to wrap up a little bit in 2021. But these books we produced in 2020 were getting published. And I had seen on Facebook, Jayci mentioned her pandemic baby as well, and how difficult these books were. And so I did an article for Frolic with 8 authors about this experience of producing a pandemic baby and publishing, and what that was like. And it was really interesting, the diversity of experiences. But Jayci and I had talked about this already. Like, for us, it was difficult. It was a difficult process. It took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of being fair, feeling very beholden to our deadlines. Like, we have a deadline and we have to stick to it. And so, and other different people have different reactions. Naima Simone said, my location changed, but other than that, I was pretty productive. Susan Elizabeth Phillips said, I had one of the most productive times ever because I had no distractions, but so people had a variety of experiences. But it's not a great week, folks. Like, it's not been a great week. We're kind of looking down, I live in Houston, Texas, which is like Cootie Central. Like, everybody, like, we're not going to see you for a while, Angelina. So, I'm fully vaccinated, but we're just approaching this time again. And so, Jayci, you kind of already answered this question. The question was, as a creative person, when we're facing kind of these, life things, even if you don't have a deadline, even if you're not a published author with a deadline, aspiring authors don't just want to put their dreams on hold to one day be published in light of whatever. They want it to happen too. So this is a question for all the broads. For everybody, what are the tips that you have for people? All of us have been writing over the last, 2 years. What are the tips you have to people to keep production, keep writing, stay on as much as you can on target while giving yourself grace, but to keep creating during stressful times? What tips do you have? Jayci, and you, if you have anything else to add, I'm going to give you the floor first because you did such a great job already. But
it's really about remembering that writing is a blessing for us to have these stories to share with others. You can't think of it as a chore, or the dreaded 4-letter word work, right? It's really a privilege And I guess sometimes I turn to it as my escape. It's something that gives me strength and recharges me, rejuvenates me. But I have to give it room to do that for me, instead of letting my anxiety and stress and this, overachiever thing kicking in and getting in the way. I have to think about the joy of writing. Try to remember back to 2015 May when I sat down and the words just flew out of my fingers, and it was the most thrilling experience of my life. And I just have to remember that, and take it day by day, take it as a blessing, take it as a form of self-care. I mean, let it become a comfort to you instead of it becoming something that weighs you down. I think that's the only way to keep going in times like this.
Yeah, I agree. Danielle.
I agree so much with what Jayci just said. I think you do have to, I think it's an interesting transition from when you are writing just because you want to write, and then it does become a job, but it's still a fun job. And I think you have to like hold on to that, because it is easy. It's so easy to get bogged down in it. But one of the things that I did this like throughout over the last year or so is I found another creative endeavor, because my previous creative endeavor was kind of transitioning into something different. And so I've been painting a lot. I don't know if I'm any good at it or anything, but yeah, I've been trying watercolor painting, and I watch YouTube tutorials, and like I usually pick like a weekend like morning, and that's what I do. Because
I just want to say 1 second that this is why we love Danielle. Like that just feeds my soul. That is so awesome. I love that you do that.
I do. I've been painting. Some people, I don't know. I can't remember. I don't think I've sent you guys cards yet. But yeah, I've been like making cards like with my painting. So anyway, I feel it's like so dorky to talk about, but it's very fun, and it also helps. I think it helps me be creative in my writing as well.
I think that's super inspiring, Danielle. I think that's awesome.
It is. Oh.
Melanie.
So I need to start listening to all this great advice, because I have been in the kind of stress bubble of just like treating it like I have to get these things done. I have to make these things happen. And I mean, yeah, there's other stressors, like life stressors, personal, family stuff, that is kind of all kind of adding pressure to the pressure, which doesn't help. So rediscovering that joy and making space for it. That's what, so my big thing is trying to kind of recalibrate so there is space for all of that, and that's what I'm just trying to figure out. So I don't know, for me it's what the only thing that has worked is just to like kind of like yell at myself. It's just like, just do it. Like there was the J.R. Ward, who was the listen effer speech that she gives herself. That's the only thing that was working, was like, listen effer. Like just the whole Nora Roberts, tough love, get your butt in the chair and do it.
Yeah. I tell myself a lot, like put on my big girl panties, like nobody cares about you, what you're bemoaning, like put on your big girl panties and sit down and get it done. Yeah.
Wow, it's like drill sergeants in here.
I know, like Jayci's like all butterflies and love, and like and like I need to channel that. I need to channel that happiness, and like
it took a long time to get there. In 2020, it was like determination and discipline. 1,000 words a day. Sit down, do it. And you lose some of the joy when you do that. And I'm at a part in my career. So the last 2 months, I was editing I have a new series with Harlequin Desire, and I was writing and editing that first book while I was drafting the third book to the Sweet Mess series.
Oh, wow.
And then I was also preparing the release of the Dating Dare. So I was doing promotions and
marketing is its own
marketing and all of that. I think I've had 11 events since the end of July.
Wow.
So I had to jump on, like I'm writing the last scene of the book, and I was late to an event that I was doing with Alyssa Cole about people. And she was like, Jayci, are you there? I'm like, oh, shoot. But it was like literally the last scene. And I'm like, But so I was thinking, I'm not, at times I was like, I'm not going to make it through these 2 months. How am I going to do all this?
Yeah.
But that's when I had to really remember why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That was the only way I could survive. Determination and dedication falls short when it comes to a time where you're just so overwhelmed, you don't think you're going to make it.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to lean in to your passion, that this was your dream. I was a 14-year-old girl wanting this, and it's happening. So my theme song kind of has been, I'm not, what is it? It's Hamilton. I'm not giving up the shot. Or
I'm not.
We all need a theme song.
Why can't I remember? I'm not gonna
throw away this. Yeah. I'm not throwing away this shot.
Yes.
Not throwing away this shot.
Melanie, I think just like the writing process, the plotter or pantser, morning, just the writing process, what gets you going, what makes you write is going to be different too for everybody. So some people are going to be like, yes, it's a gift. Some people will be like, call yourself a bitch. And some people are going to be like, hey, like, I love this. I love having this conversation like this because people can pick and choose like, oh, that, and what worked for me is like, what? So can somebody, what's the J.R. Ward? It's like, you can just Google like J.R. Ward, like.
Well, this was in like a virtual conference last winter. It was supposed to be in person, but obviously everything went virtual, and she was giving like a talk.
Yeah.
And her talk was like, because she same thing. She had stuff going on with like family things going on, like all these kinds of things affecting her ability to write, and just had to like sit down and I mean, she said, she said, listen, fucker. Like, that's what she said. Like, yeah. And just like, that's it, and you can just imagine her like, so like I recorded her saying that.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna put it on a bracelet.
Yeah, no, it's that. Yeah, that everyone has something else that makes it work for them. My one piece of advice is turn off social media. If you can if you're really in the thick of it, if you can just, whether you announce it to your people or you're not, or you don't, you just do it. And there's so much social media that your people probably are not even going to notice. But when I was in the thick, I had a book releasing. I had a book I was drafting. No, I don't know where I was, but I had a ton of shit, and I was moving to Houston. I went off social media for like 4 months, and it was the best. And when you can stop letting the world in, I do think it allows more room for these characters. Yeah. And it's also like your viewpoint stops being this to my screen, my family, and me. And a lot of the times, their families all of our families have stress and all of these things that they add to us, but so much they don't have as much stress that they add to our lives as the horror show of social media does. Yeah. So, that for me, that is the one thing that I consistently, like, if I'm really starting to struggle and the writing is feeling very difficult to access, like just stepping, and doing it. And, again, there's so much content and so much social media out there. I'm not going to lose readers because I've stepped away from social media for a month. Like, when I come back, they're going to be like, hey, I did not even notice you were gone because my stream is filled with so many other things.
That's true. Yep.
So that's my one trick. But anyway, I don't want to this is Boozy Brock and this fun, but I also want to acknowledge and anyone who's out in the audience is probably feeling like this week was a lot, folks. And so let's bond together and help each other out. We can. If there's writers out there or anybody who has been dealing with stress, if you've got a good stress technique to kind of continue to make yourself feel productive, helpful, whatever, please put it in the chat and share it with all of us. And we'll get to that. So we are starting to wrap up, but I just quickly want to ask Danielle if there are any more questions for Jayci from our watchers.
Yes, we have two that are kind of related.
Okay.
One from Janelle that says she's going to ask this because she's super excited about it, but she wants to know if there's any news about the A Sweet Mess movie. And yeah, if you have any updates. And then going off of that, Susan wants to know if you've met Daniel Day Kim yet.
And if you make out with him. That's the actual question.
So Hollywood and movie business is a complete mystery to me.
Right.
So so I don't have much news on that front, but yes, I have met Daniel Day Kim. I spent an hour talking to him about making A Sweet Mess into a feature film.
Amazing.
He's super laid back and so funny, and so warm-hearted. And I always tell people at the end of our meeting, he shook my hand with both of his hands. 2 hands. So I like to think I made a good impression.
Oh, that's awesome.
So dreamy. Yeah. And then also Estefana 125 wants to know about your new series, which I like. That's kind of what we do at the end. We wrap up and say what's coming next. So I think
go ahead and what do you have coming next? And then what's on the horizon, Jayci?
So my new trilogy with Harlequin Desire is called the Hana Trio. It's about these 3 sisters who are members of a string trio. So my first book is about the cellist and eldest sister. And it's a second chance romance story with a CEO who is secretly a composer. And the heroine finds that out because she recognizes a theme that he had played for her once. And she uses that to kind of coerce him into helping her save the chamber music society that she belongs to.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
So it's a music themed, and it wraps around these Korean American sisters who form a string trio. And I love classical music and I love strings, and it's just so passionate and voluptuous and sensual. So I try to get all that feel into the stories.
Oh, that's awesome. And then when will the next book, there's a 3-book series within your rom-com series as well.
Yes.
Is that right? When will that next book come out?
The 3rd book is coming out next summer, I believe August.
Awesome.
Do we have a title yet?
Oh yeah. Is there a title yet?
Oh, it's called Booked on a Feeling.
Ooh. Oh my God.
So cute.
I always start singing. Booked on a Feeling.
That is so clever. I love it.
Yeah.
My friend, author Christina Britton, came up with that for me.
Oh yeah, Christina is a friend of mine too. Yeah.
She's awesome.
Really fun titles too, like A Duke Worth Fighting For. Is
So I would like brainstorm with her for titles with Duke, and she helped me with this one because it's about a bookstore overhaul kind of. Best friends to lovers bookstore overhaul happening all in small town Weldon, where Weldon Brewery is located.
That is such a winner. I am impressed. Christina, props to Christina.
Thank you. It just brings a smile to my face, and I always start singing. I can't stop the song from coming into my head.
That is fantastic. Broads, do you guys have anything coming up in the near future?
I do have a holiday charity anthology. We just did the cover reveal, and so it's on pre-order now. It is called Tinsel and Tatas, because we are raising money for the Young Survivor Coalition, which is people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer before the age of 40. So 99 cents, you get almost 20 stories. It's like less than 5 cents a story, and every penny goes to this charity event. Pre-order available now, and it drops October 5th, I think. And it's only available for a month. I had a couple of friends who are like, I missed it last year. I'm like, I gave you plenty of opportunities to buy it. It's like less than $1. Just hit that pre-order.
Yes.
Right.
And my story in the book, in the anthology, is 2 Nights to Believe. And if you've read Too Good to Be Real, It is the hero's sister Penelope and his best friend Jay, who get engaged in the Too Good to Be Real. We get to see a little bit of their life running the resort on their own. You know, trying to manage being engaged while running this rom-com resort.
Awesome. Danielle.
So this is local to Chicagoland, but Love Sweet Arrow is starting to do some of their in-store book clubs again. I'm gonna like preface this heavily by saying like we stay distanced, we are masked. Obviously, if things get out of control, we will probably put them back on hold again. But hopefully for the next week, things are okay, because my book club, the No Book Club, is next Saturday, the 28th at noon in store, where we don't read a book all together. We just come talk about books.
I love it.
It's so fun. We have the best time. We really do. And it's like, if you read romance, if you don't read romance, it doesn't matter. Just like come talk about books. I'm always looking for like people who read as voraciously as I do. And I found my people. And I haven't seen them in over a year. So I'm really excited, and hopefully it'll be a really good time. So
that's awesome, Danielle.
What about you, Angelina? What do you have to plug?
So I have a story come out in the Best Women's Erotica, Volume 7. It comes out in December, but it's available on NetGalley right now. And I have a short story. Adriana Herrera will be in it. Lucy Eden will be in it. Holly Trent will be in it. And my story is called Hot Pockets. It's a hot, smutty, domestic wife and husband story, like long-term relationship story. But that's available for NetGalley if you're a reviewer and are interested in getting that early. Secondly, there is Romance for Haiti. So August 28th, an auction will open up to raise money to help the effort in Haiti. They had a massive earthquake last weekend. And Adriana Herrera put together this incredible effort for Romance Landia to get together. We're going to have a huge auction and raise money for that will go to relief organizations in Haiti. So the kind of local organizations working on the ground to help people in Haiti. I'm going to be submitting 3 books, my Filthy Rich series, and then Gantz Family Vineyard Wine will be part of it. Another auction is 3 Pinot Noirs from Costa Brown. You cannot get these anymore. Costa Brown was named the #1 wine in the world in 2009. You cannot get these 3 verticals. You'll be able to bid for them during the auction. So that I just posted as well. So that goes on live August 28th through September 1st, I believe. It's just going to be a short amount of time, but you can go on my social media, Angelina M. Lowe on Twitter, and learn about it. Just go down and you'll see. And it's all, if you just type in Romance for Haiti, you will find it there. Romance for Haiti, I believe.
I'm also participating in that. All 5 books that I've published will be up for auction. The Heirs of Hansel will be in a packet as a series. So all signed, all available. So fantastic. Go and get them.
Go get them. Go support. Let's go ahead. Remember that I'm sorry, I forgot the name of it. The Moonlit Ridge Trilogy book boxes are a discount. You get that discount by typing in BBB AUG discount. You get 10% off that trilogy. Let's go ahead and pick our winner for our gift card.
I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to scroll. We're so
very fair.
By book here. Yeah. Okay. Our winner, who has actually been chatting all night, is Estefana 125. So Estefana, I apologize if I've been saying your name wrong this entire time, but I'm going to put it in the chat. But please email boozybookbroads@gmail.com so we can get you your $10 e-gift card to Love Sweet Arrow. It's really, really fun. You can use
Congratulations.
You can use the gift card and either get the Moonlight Ridge trilogy box, or I think we should remind everyone that there are still sultry, am I saying this right? Sultry Summer Surprise.
Sultry Summer Surprise.
There we go. I always mix them up. Sultry Summer Surprise boxes, which were curated by your very own Boozy Book Broads. I got mine finally last week. And so I have the candle, the sexy books on the beach. And it smells really, it's like, I'm gonna be like, I said this
smells so good. Yeah.
like
I went to
ASMR,
when I was at the
but
store
it's
and
so good. It's,
I should have just taken one and like,
yeah, it's,
I didn't though.
So along with the delicious candle, you get a book. And please, what are the 3 books? Each of us 3 picked a book, and if somebody else can do it, because I will mess it up.
yeah, we each picked books kind of at different price levels. So we had a Harlequin category romance, a mass market paperback, and a trade paperback. So you either get like the trade paperback and a bunch of goodies and the candle, or you get like the 2 smaller books and the candle. They've mixed it up. There's other fun stuff. I'm not even going to say, it's like right over here. I'm not going to say what else is in it because it's real good. Although some people have been putting it on social media, that's okay. In fact, if you want a sneak peek, Robert, who's in the chat, he on social media did post about it, and he just said, I've been burning my candle since the event started. That's very nice, Robert. But yeah, it's
Robert.
like this little candle I'd pay $35 for, but then you also get a ton of other great stuff. So
Okay, thank you everybody for being with us this evening. We're always here the 3rd Friday of the month.
Next month, September 17th, it's Reese Ryan, who has also some books with Harlequin.
yeah.
And we are actually, I will not be here because that is my birthday. And our guest is, I don't remember who our guest was. Do you remember who our guest?
We have a guest host. It's a surprise. We'll tell you later.
It's a surprise. We will let you know. It's horrible because I think I invited them. I don't remember who we got. But I will not be here, but a super awesome surprise guest will be, guest host will be. So super looking for that. Jayci, thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Thank you. I had so much fun. Did I have too much fun? I don't know.
You're lucky. That's the way to find, right?
There's no such thing. Everyone, thank you for being with us here this evening. Join us next month yes.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. Cheers.